Welcome to Heal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey guys, real quick, before we jump into the episode, I need you to do the 3 S's for me. What is that? First of all, I need you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss an episode of our podcast. Number 2, I need you to share it with your family and friends. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else. Lastly, I need you to say something. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to see from us, what you like, what you don't like. We are open to your suggestions. We want to know everything that you want to let us know about the podcast. All right. Now, get back to the episode. All right. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you guys listen, like, subscribe, and share to our podcast on all of our your podcast listening platforms, as well as checking us out on our new YouTube channel. So make sure you guys go to YouTube and check us out at the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Again, that's the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, where you will find the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast that you're listening to now, as well as our sister podcast, which is the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where my guests and I talk about the daddy-daughter relationship in order to combat the narrative of the absent father and the fatherless daughter. So make sure you guys go to Deal to Heal Podcasting Network on YouTube and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode of this podcast, as well as the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Also, our product of the week, as you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast, and the way that we stay on the air is by bringing you amazing products for you to purchase. And so our product of the week this week is our Purpose Journal and our Purpose Planner. At the time of recording this, we are on our way into a new year. So make sure that you guys, get your journal, also get your planner so we can start planning and journaling for our new year, right? So I believe that we are the journal in order to keep track of where we've been and where we're going, as well as plan for our future. So make sure you guys go. Again, you can find the links are in the descriptions to get your purpose planner as well as your purpose journal for the podcast. But today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. Julius. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am good. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could have been anywhere else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my audience, so we definitely appreciate it. So, Julius, we go jump right in this thing. Do me a favor. I want you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Julius Mosley. I am the author of Strong Roots that is available right now on Amazon. So just a little background about me. I was just working, I drove trucks for a few years. I have a son, and just me being out on the road, I needed to be home more, give him that guidance. So I got off the road, and a long story short, to cut into my career, that path of me getting off the road just led me into searching to add like some type of meaning to my career. So I was able to go to a few seminars and everything. I was able to align a passion of wanting to see people better themselves with a career in leadership. So I've been studying leadership for the last 3 years at the University of Denver. And that kind of led me into writing the book, just doing different research on different topics for school. I wanted to do something that would better my community. So that kind of, we'll talk about that a little bit later with Strong Roots. But overall, man, I'm a father. I have a fiance. We'll get married this coming up year. I love life, man. I love seeing people live life. I love helping people. So like I said, I took that path of leadership to wanting to better our communities instead of just my organizations.
All right, man. So I want to jump right into it. You mentioned about being a truck driver. I definitely have truck drivers in my family. My brother is a truck driver. He don't drive over the road. He's local, but I definitely know the lifestyle because he himself have two jobs. He actually worked for a trucking company. Then he actually works for the city as well. So especially here in Chicago in the wintertime, he drives the snow plows. So I know them hours, long hours, you know what I'm saying, and being away from your family.
Right.
But I want to go back, right? Because you mentioned about you were a dad, and you were, had to be gone for a lot of the times. But let's go back even to before you as a dad. But how was your upbringing? Experience as a father, what not as a father, but with your father and just your family structure growing up that influenced you even now, as you've been a father now.
Okay. Well, I grew up with a military dad, Sergeant Major, so we definitely kept us in line. It was a tough discipline, but me and my father, we bonded through basketball. We both had a love for basketball and a passion for basketball. So that kind of, that was a really big passion between me and him that we shared. So he taught me a lot. We worked on it a lot. But like I said, our military dad, Sergeant Major, he was definitely very strict. Everything had to be clean, spotless. I mean, and I definitely had a strong structure. So I wanted to give him that same thing.
Right. So I know that we talk about that father son bond, right? And you're also a mentor. How did your relationship with your dad even influence you as to become a mentor? Because one of the things that me myself even being a mentor, oftentimes when we join these mentor groups and we join these communities of brothers that's pointing to the next generation. A lot of them come from the standpoint of, I didn't have my dad in my life. I know how, what that looks like. So I want to be, a father figure to these young boys. But that wasn't my story. And it seems it's not your story either. I was born as a 2-parent household, my whole life. My dad, still active in my life now. You know what I'm saying? And so even though my father was in the home, I definitely could see the difference in how I was being raised, with my dad and how my friends and families whose fathers were absent, how they were being raised and those different dynamics. And even as a young child, it impressed on me like, okay, I want to be a mentor when I get older because I want to be able to give these same lessons that my dad gave to me to this next generation. So that having that same, being raised with your dad, how did that relationship or just that experience of being raised in the household with your father reflect now on you even being a mentor to other young boys?
I would say, that's my goal. He always taught me that to like lift someone else up and always be available for someone if they need help. And he was always helping people other than, I got an older brother and an older sister, but all the kids in the community loved my dad. Like he would come out and play basketball with us and like do different things, but everybody loved him. And I wanted to be like him, just be someone that was always there for anyone. Like my friends would come to my dad for advice and different things. So just him being that type of person that rubbed off on me, and that's the type of person I wanted to be.
Yeah. Good. So let's jump into it a little bit because we're talking about your father, right?
Right.
And and I know you wrote the book and we'll get more into the book a little later, but even that, mentioning about your dad and then your friends coming to your dad even to ask for advice and things of that nature. One of the things I know that you talk about is that relationship of just the power of the words of a father, right? So
Right.
talk to us a little bit more about even that concept on how powerful just the father voice is in the lives of young men.
Oh, this is very, very powerful. Like between the ages of 1 and 7, that really tells you. Science has proven that really tells you what type of adult that you will have. The first 7 years of a child is crucial, and they mimic their dads. I mean, even the good habits, the bad habits, they mimic everything. I even remember, being a little hot headed, and my son actually picked that up from me. I could see it in him, so we had to get that straight. And I was like, okay, I had to admit, okay, I see that you get that from me, so I had to work on that in front of him, and I had to just be honest with myself. But they mimic everything we do. So the voice, the words, like words are powerful. Words plant seeds. That's why my book is called Strong Roots. We want to plant strong roots and strong seeds into our children. Want them to repeat those affirmations every morning, every night, because these words are powerful. What you speak and what you think about yourself is what you display to the world. So that's my due diligence and my piece to bring that into every home. I want everyone to start speaking life into their children and create those strong roots when the world tries to pull them different directions.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. So I wrote a ebook called The Core Four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father, right? And I wrote it because, of course, I'm a girl dad, so I was writing that just to help girl dads, and of course, I don't know how far of my story about, but this whole everything that I'm doing now kind of spawned from the fact that I realized that every woman I ever dated was a fatherless daughter, right?
Okay.
And so I started, trying to help that community. But I wrote this ebook about the four core values that every daughter should get from her father, which is affirmations, love and affection, protection, and guidance. And after I wrote it and was talking about it to different people, I also realized that those same core values, even though I originally wrote the book for daughters, sons need those same things. You know what I mean? Sons need those same values. And so again, with one of those values being affirmations, which I always say is me telling you something about yourself that you should know, but just in case you don't, let me let you know you're smart, you're intelligent, and speaking life into your life, like you said. But I also recognize, even though I have a daughter and you have a son, that they do pick up those mannerisms and those things that they get from you. And my daughter, she's 22 now, but watching her grow up, sometimes I look at her because she was so much like me. I'm like, dang, you know what I mean? That's crazy how you pick up so many different things. And I remember my brother who is the opposite of me. My brother was like the good son and the bad son, right? And I was the good son. My brother was the bad son. So everything, excuse me, everything that you can think of that was like negative, that's what my brother wanted to do, right? So he was one of those guys, so he got into a lot of trouble growing up. And I remember when he started having kids, having a conversation with him, talking about his sons. He had a couple sons, and just like, man, they doing this and this and this. And I'm like, bro, that's all you. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't even be mad at that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all you for your personality. You know what I mean? So now you know what our father was dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with you. So and so I think that those words of affirmation, those words of information, just the voice alone, to have that authoritative voice in your life from a male figure, I definitely think is so important. And I always say, a father figure, because sometimes our fathers, biological fathers, may not be active, in the lives of some of our sons and some of our young boys, but a positive male father figure is needed in the lives of our sons and our daughters for that fact, and which is again one of the reasons why I became a mentor. And I'm sure that you can reflect on that as well, is because everybody didn't have the opportunity that we had, to grow up with our dads, and especially to grow up with a dad who had a positive a positive impact on our lives. Some of us, didn't have that. And so again, now that we are in the position to become, mentors and fathers, and lend our voices to this next generation, I think is really big.
Right.
So one of the other things, that I think is really important, because I remember, um, I want us to touch on the teaching the emotional intelligence, right, to our kids, to our sons especially, to being
Right.
able to regulate their emotions, right. So I remember me being a stepdad. One of my sons, when he was younger, they told him he had ADHD,
Mm.
and because of that, there was a lot of things that his mom and some of the other people in his lives would let him get away with different things. And I was like, no, that's not, what I mean? That ain't gonna fly. He'd get upset about stuff and then start, acting out. I'm like, bro, you gotta control that. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? I'm not gonna let you slide with that, because when you get out into the world, they're not gonna let you slide with it.
Right.
You know what I'm
Most definitely.
saying? You ain't walking around with a sign that says I got ADHD. So, and even if you did, who cares? You know what I'm saying? So there were some things that, he would get upset about. I'm like, nah, we gotta control that, because one of the things he would act out a lot, at home. But then when he would go to other people's houses, when those parents, he would like spend the night or whatever, other people's houses, when those parents bring him back, they'd be like, oh, he's so mannerable and he's this and that. And they just be praising him. And I'm like, bro, you got to bring that home. Because
Right.
you're not gonna go to somebody else's house and you getting all these accolades for being like the perfect child, and then you come home and all of a sudden now you want to act up. I'm like,
Right.
no, that's not gonna work, because if you can control it there, then you can control it here.
Yeah.
And so that was something that I had to work with him over the years. And he's doing good now. Again, a young man, adult now. But I think that's important for us to really be able to touch in with our sons, to really teach them how to regulate their emotions. Especially being young black men, because you don't want to be the angry black man. You don't want to
Yeah.
have that, quick trigger to go off, because that just adds to the stereotypes that's not going to work out in your best interest, right?
Mm.
So when you're working with young men, and even the fathers, because sometimes our fathers didn't get it, didn't get those tools, so they can't really pass it along either. So
Mm.
when you're working with the fathers and the sons, just talking about that being able to regulate those emotions, what are some of the things that you hit on that you feel is important for us to be able to implement, even teaching our sons how to be able to, regulate those emotions?
Right. And that's a great question. It starts. I have an affirmation in the book that actually goes over that, starts that at an early age. I think we have to start them at an early age, and I mean whatever age, but the earlier the
Mhm.
better. But we have to take time to study emotional intelligence. There's a lot of things I never knew until I became an adult that I wish I would have knew, a long time ago. It would have made your life a whole lot easier, just going back and thinking about decisions you may have made in the past when you were upset, and once you make those decisions based off of feeling, you can't take it back. So that's the importance of it. But I would say, the first things that to look into are breathing exercises for our children, like to help them calm down. That's the go-to thing for everybody, just to tell them to breathe, because a lot of people, when you get anxious or you get upset or you get an emotional that takes over you, we don't breathe, and that's one of the most important things to do. So I think we do need more outlets for men, because a lot of men don't know emotional intelligence. That's why our prisons are full of
Mhm.
people that have made decisions based on an emotional, a choice. Once the emotions took over, they made a choice. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Like, a lot of adults don't know about emotional intelligence. So I think we have to start, getting together as adults and kind of like getting this message out here, because we got everything else against us. Our hip hop communities are against us. It's teaching violence and
Mhm.
just negativity, all sorts of negative things. But we have to get together as a community to start teaching emotional intelligence to our fathers and to our sons. And like I said, speaking life into our kids. Like one of the affirmations I have in my book is it's about. Matter of fact, I have my book right here. I just want to read one, and this is geared toward helping them learn emotional intelligence. All right, so hold on 1 second. All right, so the affirmation is all feelings can visit, but none need to stay. And with that affirmation, it comes a father and son moment. The father and son moment breaks down to just name your feeling and compare it to the weather. So it's named the feeling like a weather report. It says today feels rainy was the example because it's actually the illustration in the book shows the father and son talking and it's rainy outside and the son looks a little bothered. So it's getting them to name their emotion, kind of let you know how they feeling. And this leads into a conversation. These father and son moments in my book, backed by these affirmations, are leading into moments for them to have a conversation and open it up for them. And there's a science note. I have a science note for every affirmation. The science note for this affirmation says, putting words to emotions helps the brain calm down and learn what to do next. So if you start, comparing like, okay, you're recognizing how I feel and you're talking about that, this is going to help you calm down and try to figure out what to do next. And having your father there, just imagine doing this repetitively with a child that's 1 through 7 years old. Their brain is developing. They're speaking with their dad on how they feel. They're learning how to deal with their emotions. That's a start on how to, name your emotions and recognize what's going on. I have another affirmation that has a breathing exercise that goes along with it. So, this is a well planned out book, but just speaking on emotional intelligence in itself is very important because adults make decisions. Adults get mad. We see so much going on in the world where adults cannot control their emotions. They can get upset and just do the craziest things. And then when they come back to it, when they're finally breathing and they come back down, you've done something that you can't take back.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's so important, right? To be able to put words to our feelings, right? And I think that's a big thing too, because there's also science that backs the fact that people with a low vocabulary a lot of times act out emotionally because they can't say how they feel. You know what I mean? And so we're definitely going to make sure that we have, the link to your book in the descriptions. But also there's another book that I would like us to bring up. Is there's a book called The Emotional Thesaurus. Right. And so for those of us who know what a thesaurus is, who old enough to know when we had dictionaries, a thesaurus basically gives you different words to say the same thing. You know what I mean? And so this book is called a Emotional Thesaurus. And so for every emotion, it gives you different words to be able to describe that emotion. Right. And so I think that's so important for us to have it as people, as adults, but definitely for our kids, because the more we can give them the verbiage to be able to express themselves correctly, then they can express themselves verbally without having to express themselves physically. Even when they get upset, even when they get mad, even when they get sad, they can have the words to be able to express it, efficiently enough that they feel better, once they've actually said it, and then they don't have to act out on it because they've already spoken on it. So I definitely want to get that out there, because I think that's that book definitely has been instrumental with me. And when I'm talking to especially younger generation, younger boys, that's something I always bring up, that book, because we got to have the words to be able to express what we're holding in. Even as men, because as men, and fathers, a lot of times we hold stuff in too, because, we of course have to break some of the stereotypes that we've grown up with of, men don't cry or men don't, show emotion, all that. So we still have some display to be able to express ourselves, efficiently, but definitely being able to give our sons, our boys, the tools that they need to be able to express themselves verbally and efficiently, so that they don't have to act out. And I think that that's important too. Lastly, I want to talk about just the bond, that father-son bond, because, we've been talking about it. And even in your book, you describe of that each affirmation is actually building up a moment, and I think that, the moments that we have as fathers and sons, to, a lot of times the moments that we have outlive a lot of times even our own selves, right? As we get older, sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes the sons go before the pass away before the fathers, but a lot of times the fathers pass away and the son is still there. But those moments that we share, build that bond that cannot be broken, whether it's with our sons or our daughters. So, when you're talking about, of course, you wrote the book Strong Roots, right? So building up on those bonds, how important is it, for us to take those moments, number one, but then not only just take those moments, to actually build the bonds that's going to last a lifetime between our fathers and our sons, or our father figures, and even our mentors. Because again, sometimes we are the fathers, in someone else's lives. You know what I mean? And so, how important is it building those bonds, for us, for our sons, that's going to last a lifetime?
Right. And I would say this is very, very important. And not just with fathers, with mothers too, just a parent bond all overall. A bond with your children is very, very special. And kids get older, and once they get older and they're out and about, they're in schools or wherever they may be, they're meeting all type of different energies.
Mm-hmm.
And that bond to bring them back, these strong roots. That's why I felt like it was the perfect name, because the parents really give your children the roots. And I feel like those strong roots is what's going to keep them grounded. And it's important for them to stay grounded when they have all type of different type of energies coming at them every day. And it's going to try to pull them this way, pull them that way. But if they can stay grounded and remember what dad said to me, what mom said about this, those actually replay in their heads a lot more than we think they do. Because my son's already told me he's been in situations where, oh God, yeah, dad would be good. He would go crazy if I did this, if I got caught doing this. He would definitely say that a lot. And I feel like we have to give our kids those strong roots. Those bonds create those roots. And we replay in their heads when they're out and about. Those strong roots will keep them balanced when they have those energies pulling them everywhere. And they have so much these days. It's not like when we were back young and we had to jump through hurdles to do different things. Now they can snap their fingers and have whatever they want these days, whatever information they want on the computers. I mean, it's just like we have so much technology and everything is so much accessible. They need these strong roots more than ever. Excuse me.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100% that our words and those bonds and those things that you talk, because I talk about, I mentioned my son, the one who the one who had the ADHD that we had to talk to, growing up or whatever. But now as a young man, out of all my sons, he's the one that says I love you the most.
Right.
And growing up, he gave me the most. You know what I mean? Like we both has a lot, coming up. But now as a young man, he's the one that's probably the most appreciative of my space in his life. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And again, he's the one that says I love you the most. And just those bonds that goes way beyond the moment itself, right? To build it. Because I remember even as a stepdad coming into my son's life, coming into their lives, one of the things that I always told them is, I'm not here to take your dad's place. I'm just here until he shows up, on whatever occasions or whatever, in between times, you know what I'm saying? That's when I'm here. And then I always told them, two things that they can always remember is, number one, I love you. And number two, I always have your best interest at heart. Right. And so I started with that when I first came into their lives. I started with those two things. No matter what happens, you can remember these two things. Remember I love you, and remember that I have your best interest at heart. Because I know, number one, just as being young men, we're going to go through those ups and downs, right? We're going to go through those situations where it's like, all right, your dad, as being a stepdad, we're going to hit that "you ain't my father" role at some point. It's going to come up. You know what
Right.
I mean? And like, so knowing that ahead of time and just having that conversation ahead of time, like, yeah, right now you're young, because they were young when I came into their lives.
Right.
But it's like right now you're young, you know what I mean? So we don't, we're not having those issues because you're young. You just, you kind of do as you're born, being raised to do.
Right.
But when you start hitting those teenage years and start feeling yourself a little bit,
Oh
we're
yeah.
gonna be, we're gonna have some different conversations. And I know that, right?
Right.
And so I was started off by letting them know that too, that I know that we're going to hit some rough patches. So let
Mhm.
me make this declaration up front that you know I love you and I have your best interest at heart. And if we can get that solid where we know that now, then when we get to the rough parts, even though we bump heads, even though you might not like some of the things that I say, you might not like some of the things that I tell you to do or whatever, at the end of it, you'll know that I'm only telling you this, or I'm only leading you this way because I love you and because I have your best interest at heart.
Right.
And that definitely played out good in our relationship, my relationship with my sons. And again, like I said, the one that gave me the most problems is the one that says I love you the most now as an adult. And so even that is kind of goes back to those relationships. And when you think about your impact as a father, again thinking about my impact, the impact that my dad had on me and even on some of my friends, and you mentioned your dad having an impact on your friends, then when you be able to see your impact on this next generation, even as they grow up. And even some of my sons have so many friends that a lot of them I run into them now, like at Menards, because they're young adults and they're working and stuff.
Yeah.
And I run into them on jobs and they're like, hey, they remember me. And I'm like, I don't even know you. You know what I'm saying? Like I recognize the face, but it means they had so many friends over the years,
Oh
but they
yeah.
remember me. They remember who I am. They remember my name. So even when I'm not paying attention
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm not even thinking about it, my presence is still making a difference, even in the lives of my son's friends who I wasn't necessarily always one-on-one with, but
Mhm.
just that presence and being around that it made a difference. So again, going back to what we're saying, how important that these bonds are, the father son, and like you said, even the mother, just a parent or parent figure bonds in the lives of our sons and daughters is just definitely important. So, and you want to add anything to that?
No, I was just saying, man, you right on the money. Creating those bonds are so valuable to these children because it's stuff they never forget. And you are exactly right about them. When we're not paying attention, that's the that's when they're really watching. If you don't even
Yeah.
see everything. You don't even notice everything they notice about you. They'll pick up a bad habit and you'll never see it coming. But yeah, definitely, most definitely. Just speaking life into them, being positive, and creating those strong bonds are much important.
Yeah. Yeah. So, before we get out of here, I want to talk about the book because we mentioned it several times. So, tell us a little bit more about the book, where we can find it, and what do you hope that the readers will get out of it?
Okay, well, my book is called Strong Roots. It's available right now on Amazon. You'll see, let's see that. It's a son and a dad planting a tree on the cover of it. You just type in Julius Mosley Strong Roots. It'll pop right up for you. What I hope that everyone gets out of this book is just speaking life, and I know this will do it. It's scientific facts in this book. Speaking life into your children. This is going to help develop skills. It's going to help develop emotional intelligence, even decision making. I have a affirmation in there that's going to tell the child to pick between two different things and discuss why you made that decision. That's the father and
Mhm.
son activity. So it's going to help them in the long run with a lot of different things, from decision making to emotional intelligence to all sorts of different things. This book was well put together. If I must say so myself, I definitely took my time and wanted to make sure I covered all different type of activities and all different type of skills and mindsets that this book will improve. So just speaking life into your children. We have so much negative things they can hear, man. Hip hop is growing rapidly. Right now, I mean, it's just getting more violent and violent by the day, calling each other ops. You know, we are brothers and sisters out here, but it's really tearing our community down, and we're making them rich while they do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I ain't even gonna get into that because I know we're around the same age, and so definitely we can remember, back when hip hop, when it first came out. Not it wasn't first came out because it was already out, but there was such variety at one time. You had the conscious rappers, you had the family friendly verses, you had the party rappers. You know what I'm saying? You had all of that. Now they kind of just narrowed it down, and it's almost just like everything is gangster rap per se, and all of it has this negative impact and this negative messages that's coming out. So definitely, definitely have to be active and proactive, with our kids and the things that we listen to, even ourselves, the things that we listen to, the things that we watch, and watch our consumption of all this negative energy that we're bringing even into our own lives. And again, they see that too. So you might be listening to something, you bump your head to it, but they listening to it too. You know what I'm saying? And so you may be old enough and mature enough to process the messages that you're getting and realizing like, okay, this is just something that I'm listening to, but I'm not applying these things to my life. But as a child, they don't know the difference. They just hearing the messages and they see you bobbing your head. So it's like, okay, dad must agree with these messages. And now they're taking it a little differently and applying some of these things and that how kids find themselves in predicaments that they don't need to be in. But that's a whole nother conversation. But Julius, I want to say thank you, man. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for coming in and share your expertise. I want you to have the last word. I want you to leave us with a word of advice, motivation, however you feel. Also, I want you to leave us with your social media handles and things of that nature where we can find you and where we can get the book from. So I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Make sure that you guys are checking us out on our website, the dealhealfulfill.org. Again, that's dealhealfulfill.org. Make sure you guys are going there to check us out. Definitely getting a upgrade very soon on the website. But please bear with us. I know it looks like it was made in the in the old ages, but we're gonna get a new uplift. In the meantime, you also can go to my personal website, which is ernestjamesspeakslife.com, where you can find more information about myself and to have me to come out and speak to your school or organization. Definitely, you guys could looking forward to that, to have me come out again to ernestjamesspeakslife.com to come out to be a speaker or to facilitate a workshop. Definitely looking forward to that. So you guys can go there. Again, that's ernestjamesspeakslife.com to check us out. Also, ebooksbyejames.com. We talked about the core four earlier today, which was the core four values that every daughter should get from her father, but which is an ebook that I wrote. But also, there's an ebook that I wrote called From Males to Men, which is a male mentoring ebook for young men as they transition into manhood. You definitely want to go check that out. And one of my other ebooks that is doing very well right now is Forgiving Me, the 4-Step Guide to Self-Forgiveness. That book is doing very well right now. So you can get all of them, or you can find all of them at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. Make sure you go there to check out our ebooks. Also, our podcast merch, our inspirational t-shirt line is deal2healtees.com. Again, that's deal, the number 2, healtees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. Make sure you guys go there and check out our inspirational t-shirt line, which includes our podcast merch, which is our t-shirts with our logos for the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, as well as a t-shirt with our logo for our Girl Dad Discussions podcast as well. Last but not least, over the last couple of years, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And one of the things that we do free virtual workshops bi-monthly, talking about everything surrounding forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, even forgiveness of the world, and forgiveness of forgiveness and wellness, and how unforgiveness affects your body. So make sure that you guys are checking us out at theforgivenessmission.com. Again, these virtual workshops are absolutely free, but the information is priceless. So whenever you're listening to or watching this podcast, either one just ended or there's one coming up. So again, you can go to forgivenessmission.com to sign up for our free virtual workshop, or you can go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission in order to sign up for that free virtual workshop. Once again, Julius, I want to say thank you so very much for being on. Thank you for sharing your expertise and your story with us. I want you to have the last word, so the floor is yours.
All right. And I appreciate you having me on your platform. It was definitely nice meeting you. So I just want to say to all the parents out there, it really is important to speak life into your children, whether you get the book or not. Just speak positive things to them. Teach them affirmations to speak positive things into themselves. And my book is available on Amazon right now. You can go to Amazon and type in Strong Roots and followed by my name, Julius Mosley, and the book will pop right up for you. But I had a very good time on the podcast, and thank you to all the listeners.
No doubt, no doubt. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.